Origins of Mystique. True to her name, the shape-shifting Mystique is an enigma. Is she a mutant terrorist determined to bring about the end of humanity, or a misguided mutant with a good heart? Raven Darkholme, otherwise known as Mystique, has a very convoluted history about which very little is known, the exception being that she is over a century old and was most likely born somewhere in Austria. Mystique is one of the few bisexual characters in comics, having had a long relationship with Irene Adler, otherwise known as Destiny. Mystique initially met Destiny when she was hired to help her decipher her dreams and stop the worst of them from coming to pass. The two of them would eventually become lifelong lovers. When Mystique was involved with Destiny, the two of them actively tried to thwart Destiny's negative precognitive dreams from actually occurring. The relationship lasted decades, ending when Destiny was killed. Mystique has also been the mother of at least 3 children. She is the biological mother of both Nightcrawler and Graydon Creed, whose father was the mutant Sabretooth. Ironically, Graydon turned out to be just a normal human and became the mutant-hating leader of the racist group known as the Friends of Humanity. He was eventually assassinated by Mystique herself. Her third child, by adoption, was Rogue, who would eventually join the X-Men after turning her back on Mystique's Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. In the 1920s, Mystique encountered the Canadian mutant Wolverine when he joined her gang of mutant pickpockets. This meeting was possibly orchestrated by Weapon X. The two became lovers. Wolverine did not act when Mystique let their friends die when the situation turned sour, though he was extremely remorseful. As they ran away, Mystique pushed Wolverine out of the train they were escaping on because she did not trust him. At one point in her life, circumstances led Mystique to an important figure in Wolverine's past, Victor Creed. When the two initially met, Mystique was in the guise of Lenny Zauber. Both Lenny and Victor had been assigned to kill a scientist in Berlin. Although Mystique was the one who ultimately killed the scientist, the two of them still needed to maintain a low profile and opted to stay in the same safe house. It was here that they first became lovers until Mystique faked her death so that she could leave Sabretooth without objection. During their time together, unbeknownst to Sabretooth, they conceived a child. Mystique immediately gave the child up for adoption, although she still kept track of him until he hit adolescence when it became apparent that he was not a mutant. Later on in Mystique's life she had a son named Kurt Wagner with the ancient biblical mutant named Azazel. By this time, Mystique was calling herself Raven Darkholme, possibly her actual name. During this time Raven was married to Christian Wagner and the two of them were happily married until she learned of Christian's infertility. She then used her powers to have sex with a number of partners as she desperately wanted another child. That is when she met Azazel, who told her of the islands he ruled off the coast of Bermuda, and that he was the father of many mutants who were called Neophem. Raven soon discovered that she was pregnant, although Wagner became immediately suspicious. Pressured to have her son, Kurt, blood-tested, Raven killed her father-in-law and buried him. She then gave birth to a baby with black hair, yellow eyes, blue skin, and a pointed tail after reverting to her true form due to the stress of the birth. The villagers thought that both the mother and child were demons and they quickly attempted to kill them. Raven soon threw her newborn son into a river before changing her form to that of a local villager so that she could escape alive. It is later revealed that, either through Destiny's precognitive powers or through the government contacts she eventually cultivates, Mystique keeps tabs on Kurt Wagner's whereabouts. She reveals in her first encounter with Nightcrawler that his foster mother, Margalie Sardos, is aware of her. Distraught over what she had done, Mystique wandered the world for some time. During this time, she met the mutant Destiny and became both friends and lovers with her. Destiny, who was precognitive, told Raven it would be best for her to adopt a certain child named Anna Marie who would later grow up to become the X-Man known as Rogue. Wanting to make up for abandoning Graydon and Kurt, Mystique eagerly agreed. Mystique genuinely cared for Anna, and raised her like the child she had lost. Although initially distrustful, Raven gained the young girl's trust, creating a family with her and Destiny for nearly a decade. Unfortunately, Destiny aged at the rate of a normal human, while Mystique's powers allowed her to retain her youthful body. While still raising Anna Marie, Raven had concealed her mutant abilities so well that she was able to work for the United States Civil Service and eventually worked her way up to the trusted position of Deputy Director of the Defense Advanced Research Planning Agency (DARPA) in the United States Department of Defense, giving her access to military secrets and advanced weaponry, both of which she used for her own criminal and subversive purposes. In order to help further her terrorist activities, Raven organized a group called the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, whose members consisted of Avalanche, the Blob, Destiny, and Pyro. After training Anna in the use of her powers, Mystique gave her the code name, Rogue, and allowed her to join the Brotherhood. With Rogue on their team, the Brotherhood successfully defeated the Avengers. However, during their battle, Rogue attempted to use her absorption power on Ms. Marvel. Unfortunately, Ms. Marvel did not go down easily, and Rogue was forced to absorb her psyche and powers permanently. This caused Rogue to feel as if she was going insane, since Ms. Marvel's persona often attempted to gain control of Rogue's mind. Though Rogue remained with the Brotherhood in subsequent encounters with the X-Men, the Dazzler, and an ill-conceived attempt to recruit Hybrid, the mutant child of a human and a dire wraith, Rogue eventually abandoned her pseudo-family in order to join Charles Xavier in hopes that he could help where her mother could not. Unfortunately, Mystique believed that Xavier had brainwashed her daughter and she attempted to liberate Rogue from the X-Men's control. This rescue mission was short-lived after Rogue told Mystique that she believed Xavier was the only person in the world who could help her control her powers. Reluctantly, Raven left Rogue with the X-Men, although she still continued to check in on her from time to time. Over the years, however, Mystique began to resent Xavier and the X-Men, believing that they had stolen one of the few special people in her life. It is later discovered that Mystique survived that day and has been in the form of Iceman's ex-girlfriend, Opal Tanaka, having met Bobby at a party. Recently, Bobby had been experiencing difficulties with his powers. His body is in pain and always feels cold. As Opal, Mystique encourages him to call Hank. Hank advises Bobby that the problem with his powers could very well be due to the toxin Mystique slipped him, but he would need to run tests in San Francisco to be sure. He sends the X-Jet by remote and Opal insists on coming with him. During the flight she questions him about how he was infected and asks Bobby, "I wonder if she meant for this to happen," but he dismisses the idea that Mystique would even care. Soon after, the bomb she slipped onto the plane explodes, creating a hole in the side of the jet. She reverts back to her true form before kicking him out of the jet and to the snowy-covered mountains they were flying over. Throughout the next few days Mystique repeatedly attacks him and nearly kills him, but never finishing him off. She tells Iceman that she has never loved nor liked him. She injects him directly with another toxin, refusing to let hospital workers help him, and forcing him to cure himself with his malfunctioning powers. While Bobby hitchhiked, she attacked the semi he was riding in. Bobby traps her in ice, but she escapes when he is distracted by the semi's driver. She is later found waiting on top of the Golden Gate Bridge, disguised as Iceman, with a pressure switch detonator in her hand to the bomb she has planted. Bobby is given permission to approach her first while the others look for the bomb. It's here the two finally have it out. He tells her that Wolverine told him what happened in their fight. Mystique admits that Logan was right about her being alone. That it sounded like the truth. Bobby tells her that he thinks she was lying earlier about not loving him. To this she has no reply. He pushes her further about how her daughter and son won't have anything to do with her. She starts to cry and demands he stop, but he just pushes harder, telling her that if she would try asking someone out to dinner in place of blowing up bridges, she might actually get somewhere. With her hurt, angry, and sad, she is distracted enough to let Bobby freeze her hand while still holding the detonator. Her bomb has been found and the rest of the X-Men are on the way. She uses her frozen fists to knock Bobby down and tells him she will come to see him again. Not with her body or face, but promises that he will love her. That being said, she jumps off the top of the bridge, the full 700 feet, and into the San Francisco Bay. Her body is never found, but Bobby is sure she is alive and realizes he owes her thanks. In her own way, she cured him of the very problem she started. Powers. Mystique is a mutant metamorph who can psionically shift the cells and tissues of her body so as to change her physical appearance. She can cause herself to look and sound exactly like any human, humanoid, or semi-humanoid being of either sex, wearing virtually any kind of clothing and accessory, even glasses. As such, she almost never wears clothes of her own since she prefers to mimic clothing. Her control is so exact that she can precisely duplicate another person's retina pattern in her own eyes, finger, palm, and skin pore patterns on her own hands and skin, and vocal cords to match voices to the point of deceiving vocal recognition software. She is also able to shift the placement of vital organs in her body to avoid damage from lacerations and punctures, notably gunfire. She has been shown to have a slower aging process. If she ages at all, she is over 100 years old. As a result of exposure to unknown extraterrestrial radiation, her abilities enhanced. She now possesses a healing factor which grants her a great tolerance for toxins, enhanced strength, and augmented shape-shifting powers. She has been shown growing wings enabling flight, shifting her abdomen to conceal small firearms, growing extra limbs, changing her mass to become a small child, and flattening her body strikingly similar to Mr. Fantastic. Mystique was limited only by her inability to diminish or increase her own mass. As a result, while she could make herself look exactly like a person who was physically bigger than herself, she would not weigh as much as the actual person that she was imitating. Although she could maintain the form of another person of similar height, weight, and build indefinitely as with her own appearance as Raven Darkholme, the longer she maintained that form, the greater the strain she felt. If she maintained a bigger form for too long a period, the length of which is directly proportional to the difference in size between that form and her normal one, she would collapse and revert to her normal appearance. However, recently she has stated that her mass can change when she does, possibly a result of her enhancement. Mystique also cannot duplicate the powers of the person she imitates. For example, when she turned herself into a duplicate of Nightcrawler, she did not gain his ability to teleport. As of yet, Mystique has not demonstrated any ability to adopt the form of non-humanoid beings, animals, plants, or non-living objects. It is conjectured that she cannot imitate any of these without interfering with the proper functioning of her internal organs and possibly causing her death. The truth, however, like much regarding Mystique, remains unclear. However, she has on occasion adapted fins for swimming, and even wings for hang gliding. She is a good hand-to-hand combatant and skilled marksman. Over the centuries, Mystique has become so adept at imitation that she can usually tell if someone is pretending to be someone else just by their body language. This even goes for psychics, as she was able to tell that Nate Gray was possessing Norman Osborn.